Russ had his son on the court. Oh.
I thought he was going to make it.
Little people are so cute.
Look at his baby boy. And now look at what Russ does. There you go, man. This is great.
Okay, I love Russ. I'm a Russ guy.
Russ is a family man.
Now I'm a Russ.
Russ's circle has been incredibly small since he came to the league. Never had no big entourage. It's always been his family, his then girlfriend, now wife. They got this baby.
I think I was just sort of poorly clouded by Colin Cowherd. Now I'm a huge, huge Russ fan.
No, Russ got to stop shooting so many damn threes. But aside from that, not much to criticize about Russell Westbrook, on or off the court.
One of many, many, many assets to being a pro athlete is the access that your kids get and what they get exposed to at a very, very young age. I believe it's very, very important to expose them to that because that's really your profession.
And if I may, Chris's two children who obviously grew up around football, one now Monterey is a rising star within the Minnesota Vikings organization, and your son, your older child, Duran, he's a pro football player in Canada. So they both took the experience of coming up around football.
I used to take them around. Just like that all the time.
That's awesome.
One time, Duran came into one of the meetings, and Brad Johnson said, "You know when you the man?" They're like, "What? When your son sit in the meeting, don't nobody say nothing." Like, you right, boo.
Time now for your AT&T wake-up call. Boogie Cousins is expected to make his Warriors debut against the Clippers tonight. He'll also make his debut. It will be his first game since rupturing his Achilles playing for the Pelicans nearly a year ago. See, you're big on this injury thing. How long do you think it'll take Cousins to get back to full strength?
Well, I think he's looked very, very good. If you look at some of the videos, some of the shooting he's doing, some of the agility drills that he's doing, there's no rush to bring him back. I mean, you got a close to 40 games left in the regular season. I'm about 10 games into this. I want to see the Warriors, though, if they make a conscious effort to get him some good looks, to get him, because Boogie is a scorer. He ain't out there to play defense now. Boogie's out there to put the ball in the bucket and is very, very athletic. I believe about 10 game, Nick, a 10-game window to get acclimated to that pace that they play.
And I think Boogie's going to be one of the success stories of coming back from the Achilles.
Okay.
And I think he's going to play at a level that the New Orleans Pelicans, when the story surrounding them this year is when is Anthony Davis leaving, they're going to regret not biting the bullet and giving him a real contract offer to keep him there so they would have him for this 40-game playoff push and maybe the years moving forward.
Hadn't thought of that. Great point.
Back to the NFL now. Marcus Peters made some headlines after the Saints-Rams matchup, saying he and Sean Payton will have a nice bowl of gumbo together. Makes me hungry every time I read that. If the teams matched up again, both Peters and Payton said that gumbo-related tiff is now in the past. Nick, who's got the last laugh in this one?
I mean, I guess that's asking me who's going to win. I think the Saints are going to win, so I guess Sean Payton would get it. But I don't think they're going to win because they exploit Marcus Peters. This touchdown we're showing you right here is the last touchdown Marcus Peters has allowed this season. He got hurt early, played through it, didn't play up to his abilities. Since week 10 to now, no touchdowns allowed, 2 picks, and allowing a 64 passer rating. He's back to being Marcus Peters.
Yeah, the only way that Marcus Peters loses if Teddy Ginn is get involved in this offense. They're going to have to be able to find some other targets outside of Michael Thomas. When you have Talib on the other side, I believe that the Rams secondary plays a lot better in this rematch.
All right, finally, the Saints' high-powered offense facing off against the Rams' defense. And Ndamukong Suh said the Rams are focused on stopping the Saints' elite backfield of Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. See, whose backfield is more important on Sunday, the Saints or the Rams?
Oh, man, that's a tough one there. With C.J. Anderson emerging the last 4 weeks there when Todd Gurley was resting and what they did last week against the Dallas Cowboys, like, I didn't think the Rams, I didn't think C.J. was going to touch the ball as much. I thought Todd Gurley would be back to his healthy self. But, man, they did a great job of having a platoon system utilizing both of them. I don't think that they're going to be able to run against the Saints defense that has not given up a 100-yard rusher since when?
Week 17.
Week 17, 2017. Yeah. I mean, that's a great run defense. So Drew Brees' game has changed since they drafted Alvin Kamara. So that combination right there has really helped Drew Brees. Man, which one is more important? I believe with Jared Goff being the quarterback, and if you want to quiet a crowd down, running plays are easier to call. It's easier for the offensive line to fire off forward compared to going on a silent count, going backwards. So I'm going to lean to the Rams, even though both of these teams cannot function at the level they're used to functioning without their exceptional backfield.
I think that Saints streak is snapped this week, by the way. I think not only because Todd Gurley is great, but because a big part of that streak this year has been Sheldon Rankins. That is the one major injury from divisional weekend. Saints big space-eating, very good deep
Can
tackle.
Todd Gurley get enough carries, though?
Okay, fair. Are they going to split him and C.J. Anderson?
Yes.
It's a good question. So I'm still going to go with that prediction because I just said it. You bring up a good nuance to it. But I want to bring up Kamara not running the ball, but catching the ball, because the Rams' biggest weakness is their linebacking core. I do not know what matchup is a favorable one for them when Todd Gurley, whether he lines up in the backfield and then runs out, or when they put him in the slot to do the stuff that you worked on him with a year and a half ago as far as just being a true route runner. I think that is, and I know you believe, it's the biggest mismatch in this football game.
Yeah, I believe that him and Tyreek Hill, Alvin Kamara, and they are the wild card in these championship games, because I don't believe there is a matchup for them on the field. As good as New England's secondary is, I don't believe they can match up with him. And as talented as the Rams are corner-wise, their safeties and their linebackers are the weak spot to that defense in coverage. So he's exceptional. I believe the best in the NFL. If I had one ball to throw, if it's contested and it's outside, I'm throwing it to Michael Thomas. If I have one slot receiver in all the NFL, of all the receivers, of everything I could have, Alvin Kamara is the guy that I'm going to pick that come out of the backfield for Drew Brees and be able to run that one route. I believe he's going to be able to win. So I believe they have a huge advantage when throwing the ball to him and getting him in space.
All right, well, it's not just the running backs on display this weekend. In a year defined by points, offense, scoring, and more points, it shouldn't come as a big surprise that the four best scoring offenses in the league are the four teams still competing for a Super Bowl this weekend. All four of these teams averaged over 27 points per game, with the Chiefs being one of the top 5 scoring offenses in NFL history. Nick, what do the remaining teams tell you about what it takes to be successful in the NFL?
Listen, I don't want to overreact to one championship weekend, but it should be noted that these are the top 4 scoring teams in the league, and the one team that's not there that a lot of people, myself included, predicted would be there, the Chargers, they're right outside the top 4, so they would have continued that trend. But it's not just that this 2018 season has been about high-powered offenses, and we have the 4 most high-powered offenses as the 4 teams remaining. It's also been about decided schematic advantages in the coaching game. And look at the coaches who are left. You can make an argument, man, these are the 4 best coaches going right now. Certainly 4 of the best. You have Belichick, who's in the GOAT argument for coaches. You have Sean Payton, who's been as good as any coach in football for a decade. Andy Reid, who is one Super Bowl win away from, in my eyes, cementing himself as a Hall of Fame coach. And Sean McVay, who doesn't have the resume of the other guys, but what he's done in a very brief period of time, taking over a 4-12 team, dead last in the NFL in offense, and instantly making them a high-powered offense, and to where everyone wants to hire their Sean McVay. Like, this is we don't always get it. And maybe if Cody Parkey made that field goal, maybe we wouldn't have gotten it. There were scenarios where it wasn't going to end like this. But in a year that to me has been defined by offense and coaching, what we have left is the 4 best offenses and 4 of the very best coaches in football.
You make a great point about the coaches being paired up with the offenses. If you look at the rule changes, if you look at everything around the National Football League, for the last several years, it's been about safety. Then it was about the quarterback. It was about catching the football. Typically, all these changes are about the offensive. And I've met with Roger Goodell. I've met with Troy Vincent. The fans and their approval of this game, it's very, very important. We saw after a year where we lost some fans, we saw this year, they came back, and they came back in numbers as far as the people and what they're seeing on the field. So you can believe they're not going backwards. They're not getting ready to start changing the rules to go backwards. So it's important to build the score of the football, but you need to realize in the NFL, you can't keep teams under 17 points. So you got to score at least 21 to 24 to be able to win. New England's at the bottom of this 4 at 27. So how are you going to win games in this league? You got to be able to build a score. You got to build a score in the 20s. But what it tells me, though, more so than the scoring, each of these organizations in the last year has been very, very aggressive.
Yes.
Let's look at New England. We talked about, man, they traded away Brandon Cook. They, at mid-season, earlier in the season, they went out and got Josh Gordon. Man, that was a huge risk to try to shore up, their passing attack. The Rams, no team was bigger in free agency than them. They brought it's going to ruin their locker room. Oh, they're in the championship game. Well, let's go to the Saints. What did the Saints do? They traded at the trade deadline for Eli Apple.
And at the draft, they traded a future one
for Davenport, who was supposed to play a huge role in the game today. So when you go down all these rosters,
Sammy Watkins to go along with an offense that was already really good.
What, Patty Mahomes?
Right, they traded a future first-round pick to be able to go get
traded Alex Smith out so Patty Mahomes could take over. So yes, high scoring, but you need to be aggressive and trying to acquire players, and you have to try to win right now. That's what all 4 of these organizations have in common.
Is this good for football?
Oh, I think this year has been, it could not have gone better. As far as last year, there was terrible injury luck. I understand there was the controversy surrounding the national anthem, which was polarizing, and all of a sudden it brought fair or not politics into the sport, and that angered a lot of people on both sides, right? But the other thing that happened last year was Aaron Rodgers got hurt, J.J. Watt got hurt. It felt like Odell Beckham got hurt. There was a dozen superstar players injured, done for the year. This year, the only super prominent player to get injured early was Jimmy Garoppolo. Other than that, we've had good health for our star players, and the safety combined with the catch rule, which that was the other thing. People, what is a catch? What isn't a catch? Now we know what's a catch. Damn near everything. It can frustrate you, but it has led to scoring, and it's led to simplicity.
Yeah.
And we're watching the game and we know what we're seeing. I agree with C. I think this season has been as fun of a season to watch as one that I can remember.
Jenna, the only way to hurt the product is because people in the NFL, they want the product to be different than the product on Saturday in college football. If you start getting where you have prolific offenses like Oklahoma, but with no defense, then it will be a problem for the NFL. But you look at the Chiefs, there's no team that doesn't do something special from a defensive standpoint. Each one of them have groups that are really, really special. So the points are fine with the good teams. As long as the great offense doesn't come with pathetic defense, I think the product will continue to grow.
Which is why that game of the year, that 54-51 Chiefs-Rams game, that wasn't a college football game. There were 3 defensive touchdowns scored in that game. There were 6 forced turnovers. It was super high scoring, but you saw spectacular defensive plays to go along with the up and down offense.
All right, got to take a break. Coming up, is Robert Kraft right that Tom Brady is the best football player of all time? That's next. Now, first things first, the debate.